Welcome back to the Loading Up Podcast. I am one of your hosts, Brother Zay, and tonight we have with me our producer J.
What's going on?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It's been a long week.
Yes, it has. Yes,
and we're actually late, so
we are late, and unfortunately, Brother Tay is not going to be with us tonight. He's having trouble getting home, so hopefully he gets home safely, and we'll see him next week.
Yeah, we got to talk to Brother J about the MTA. What's going on?
Yeah. So what's going on, man? How you been doing? What games you been playing? Talk to me.
Just the same old. Jedi Survivor, still chugging along with that.
Okay.
That's been pretty much it. I feel like this weekend I had like zero time at home. I feel like I was just like always somewhere, and it was
something
just,
to do, right?
Always something. I feel like it's always something. I was even talking to my fiance about it. I was like, you know what? The next weekend that I have off, I don't want to do shit. Like, I just want to just be lazy, play video games all day. I want to actually make progress in them and just relax. Yeah.
Yeah. You need that. You need that sometimes.
Yeah. But other than that, I've been playing through Pokemon, which I'm almost done with Ultra Sun. I'm like halfway through the Pokedex.
Halfway through the Pokedex?
Yeah. So then once I do that, I move on to Sword and Shield, which is actually funny because my brother and I game share on the Switch.
Okay.
So for the longest time we would share games, mostly me because he don't really play the Switch like that. But he recently got his girlfriend a Switch, and so so now they want a game share. And
literally, you have like up to 5 accounts.
No, so that's the Nintendo,
the family plan
online thing? So you can get the online stuff. Is a family thing, but it's not like, I know it would make things a lot easier if they did that, but this is Nintendo we're talking about. They're not gonna do something like that. It's always
the girlfriend jumping in and ruining the thing.
No, but you see, the thing is, I didn't have a problem with it. I was just like, fine, I buy most of the games anyway. You're basically leeching off of me. So I didn't really care. But literally the one game that he bought that I use, or that I would have used, is freaking Pokemon Sword and Shield, or Sword. And I was like, that's the next game I need to start. Why would you do it now? So I ended up having to find the used copy.
So you brought one?
I had to. I need to play it.
You could have asked to borrow mine.
You had it? You didn't tell me.
I have. Of course I have. I'm a Pokemon fan. Of course I have it.
Man, well, too late now.
Too late, yeah.
It is what it is. But yeah, so I'll be moving on to that soon.
Okay. Good.
Speaking of Nintendo, I was almost freaking pressured into buying another game that just came out, which was Legend of Zelda.
You were pressured? Who was pressuring you?
Twitter. Everybody on Twitter was playing it, talking about it. I kept seeing videos. I was like, the FOMO was real. It was affecting me. I was scared. I wanted to join in the festivities.
I did not enjoy Breath of the Wild, so I was like, I don't care. You know, if you like, I love Legend of Zelda. The old Legend of Zeldas. I have even brought a Wii just for Twilight Princess. So I just did not care for Breath of the Wild, and I know people love it, and I get it. It's Zelda, you know. I couldn't get into it. It just wasn't for me. So I had no intentions of getting Tears of the Kingdom. Even after seeing all the videos and everything, videos are funny. You know, it was cool. You know what? I applaud those people. Have your fun. You know, enjoy the game. I hope you do. You know, it's great. It's just not for me.
I think the reason why I felt the same type of energy for when Elden Ring came out.
Yeah,
like everybody was playing it, and I haven't felt that since. So it's like I'm experiencing it again, and I'm just like, oh man.
No, but Elden Ring's energy was going on for like 6 months, even after release. It was everywhere for 6 months.
Yeah,
I don't think anything has captivated the world in gaming like Elden Ring has. At least not this gen. Elden Ring really took the world by the storm when it came out.
Yeah, and it's weird because I thought the next game to do that would have been God of War, but it didn't. Like, it just kind of came and went.
Well, PlayStation players, they play Twitter. They don't play games.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
That is. I'm joking.
But what games have you been playing?
So last time we spoke, I beat Jedi Survivors. I also beat a little indie game called Ravenlock that was on Game Pass.
Right.
It was by the makers of Echo Generations, and I really liked Echo Generations. It was a good game. So I was like, you know what, let me give this a try. And this was not as good as Echo Generations, but it was still good. It was a fun playthrough. It was quick and easy. I beat it in like 2.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
But it was fun. So I beat that. And now I'm sort of like in-game limbo since I beat Jedi Survivors. And I'm just waiting for that next game to come, the next game. I'm playing, of course, Rocket League and Wild Hearts with my friends. And I was just playing a little bit ago some Dead Island 2, chugging along through the story of that. But I'm still waiting for, the big one. I'm still waiting for Starfield.
You don't have like any of your backlog that you've been neglecting like I have?
We're not going to talk about the neglect.
Hey.
You can't bring it up. It makes it too real.
It is. I know. It's so sad.
It is. It's sad. But chugging along in the games that I do have downloaded and are playing either with friends and or by myself.
That's good. Did you ever pick up Redfall after we played it?
No, because I was too busy with Jedi Survivors.
Okay.
And then Ravenlock, and then I was going to start it after the whole Mother's Day festivities. I was going to start it. I loaded it up, and then I think my wife called me, and I just stopped.
She saved you.
Yeah. So I am still gonna go back. I still have it downloaded. I'm still gonna play through it, get a little bit further into the story, maybe because I can look past performance issues. If maybe the game starts getting better, because I did that with Jedi Survivors. So I'm gonna get a little further into it and see what happens.
Okay,
and I'll report back.
Yeah, I did hear that. I think because there's like 2 open areas that the game relies on. So it's like I've heard the second map is better. That's at least what I've heard. I haven't gotten that far, and I don't plan on getting that far.
Well, yeah, once I get there, I'll report back, see how it is, because I do intend to go back and play.
Good. All right. Sounds like a plan.
Definitely.
So we can just get into some news, because there's a lot of it.
There is a lot of news. A lot of stuff has happened, and we're gonna catch everybody up right now. So we're gonna start with some Nintendo news. Finally, something other than Xbox, right?
Right?
Yeah. So Nintendo has some rumors going around as of late about a potential next console. So a longtime manufacturing partner for Nintendo Switch is reportedly working on a new console. The highly successful Nintendo Switch has been on the market since 2017, and everybody's been wondering when the next, big Switch or Nintendo successor Switch come out. So everybody's been wondering, and their partner, I think it's it's Sharp CEO Robert Wu revealed in an earnings call that they're making LCD screens for unspecified system during their recent earnings call, and they revealed it to be launching sometime before March of 2024. Now, of course, this should be taken with a grain of salt. Nobody knows exactly what LCDs they're making for what system or anything like that. But since they are manufacturing partners with Nintendo and they worked heavily alongside Nintendo, people are pointing toward the next Switch, Switch 2 or Switch Pro, whatever they're gonna do.
Right.
It's still early. Nobody knows officially, but this is sort of more confirmation that maybe there is a new console coming out from Nintendo.
I think there was never a doubt that Nintendo would make another console. Like, it just makes too much sense, especially with the outcry that there is for a Switch Pro or any, like, just a Switch 4K, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And just with the recent releases of Nintendo games, that being Pokemon, Scarlet and Violet, and just recently Legend of Zelda, with the performance that it's been like 30 frames per second, even dipping as low as 20. Like, clearly there needs to be some improvement, because right now Nintendo's reaching their peak in terms of what they can produce out of the Switch. Granted, people who buy a Switch are not really playing for the high-end graphics or whatever, but it would still be nice to have better performance, for people that want it.
I mean, they've always leveled up whenever they made some big console changes. They went from the NES to the Super NES, then to the 64. So they made big improvements with their next console iteration. So let's hope that they can do that again, because the power is out there. They have the ability to do it.
Yeah, especially with like the Steam Deck, and now just recently the Asus ROG Ally. That I was so tempted to buy. Like, let me tell you, I was on checkout. Like, I got so close, and I was like, no, be good. I don't need it. But they're out there, and now that there's more competition in that space, like that puts a little bit more pressure on Nintendo, because now people are getting their high quality home console or even PC type games on the go. And they're kind of butting into Nintendo space, because that's been what Nintendo's cornered with the Switch. Not to say that it will outsell the Switch by any means. Like, there's no way. Like, you can't. There's no way you can outsell the Switch.
No.
Like, that's
nobody's outselling the Switch. Nobody.
But it makes sense to want to get the next iteration. And it's been how long? When the Switch came out?
2017.
Yeah. So it's getting long in the tooth. And this is around the time Nintendo would start announcing their next console. So we'll see. I mean, March 2024 sounds
close.
It sounds really close, really.
Yes,
but
it sounds really close.
It also sounds on par with Nintendo, because I feel like the Switch also launched earlier in the year.
It did launch like they announced it, and then a few months later it came out. So it can happen. It's not out of the realm for Nintendo to do this. And then if you think about it, like, even if Nintendo makes a new Switch and they charge $400 for a console, people will still buy it, especially since like the ROG Ally is gonna be $700 or $600.
Yeah.
And the Steam Deck is $550, $600. It's still the cheaper of the next handheld stuff. So they will still sell a bunch. Nobody's worried about Nintendo selling.
No. If they literally just make, and I think that's what people are kind of expecting, just the Switch, but higher powered. So if they just do that, honestly, they could sell a shitload, and I would be one of them. So we'll see how that happens. But if anything, they would probably announce it like later on this year.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see. Probably by Christmas time, we'll see some more news on that.
Right.
Yeah.
Also, it needs to, one more thing, it needs to be backwards compatible. Like, there's no excuse. You gotta make it compatible with Switch games, because that'll be a slap in the face if not.
Good luck with that one.
I know, this is Nintendo. Who knows what they're gonna do? But I'm just saying, if they were smart, they would do that. But anyway.
Yeah. So again, some game release coming out. We have some news about the new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, which is supposed to come out November 10th of this year for, of course, every system out there. It's going to be a full-fledged sequel to Modern Warfare 2. It's going to be developed by Sledgehammer Games, and of course supported by Activision's main Call of Duty studios. It's going to have even the Outbreak 2.0, which is their zombies multiplayer campaign. So that's going to be dope. Modern Warfare has never really had zombies. It's always been, it's always been the Treyarch, and the Black Ops has always had the zombies. So
it's
bringing zombies into the Modern Warfare franchise is going to be dope.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, because this is the first time that the Call of Duty had a sequel like directly the year after, because usually they do the 2-year thing, and then when Sledgehammer started making the games, it was 3 years. So like Sledgehammer had their games, Infinity Ward had their games, and Treyarch had their games, and they will all take turns, they will alternate or whatever.
Yeah.
This is the first time where they released Modern Warfare 2, and then the next one is Modern Warfare 3. And I think because Sledgehammer is making it, what the last game Sledgehammer made was Vanguard, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah.
So yeah, and that one didn't do too well. So hopefully they learn from their mistakes, and maybe the fact that it's modern will make it easier for them to develop, because it's hard to go back after you do modern, or even when what was it, Black Ops, was it Vietnam?
Yes, it was
Cold War. That's what it was.
That was Cold War. That was Cold War / Vietnam /
all that stuff. So like even going from there back to the past to like World War II once again, like it's hard to make it new and exciting. So
they're gonna be supported by, of course, Activision and everybody else. They're gonna have
all the studios.
Because now I feel like they're all working together. They always support each other, but now I feel like they're all working together to push these games out. Especially after, people have an issue with Call of Duty and it feeling stale. They tried to do something new with Modern Warfare, with Warzone 2.0, and people aren't feeling it as much as they, like the original. So I feel like they're going to pull all the stops out. I mean, they got a campaign coming out, a new multiplayer. They have zombies coming to the Modern Warfare franchise. So I feel like this one's going to be really cool, but I say that every year.
I mean, we always have high hopes for Call of Duty because it looks cool, and then it comes out, and then a couple months afterwards, you're just like, okay.
Yeah.
But we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, for sure. So now we're going to jump into some PlayStation rumors about Konami's Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. Maybe a timed exclusive for PlayStation. So, I mean, that's big. I love Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake Eater was amazing.
That's a lot of people's favorite. Like,
yes, it was so good. And although I have a PS5, all the other Metal Gears are on the Xbox. So for it to be a timed exclusive was like, ooh, because my Xbox is my main gaming console, and and I would like for it to go there. So maybe, just maybe, I can wait for it to come out if it does turn out to be a timed exclusive.
Yeah. So supposedly there's no concrete information on whether or not it's gonna be timed. They're basically, like, all the leakers that have said anything about it basically said that it's tied to Sony in some way. Whether it be like advertising, marketing deal, or if it was like an extra DLC, like it was for Hogwarts. Anything something is tied to Sony and PlayStation. So we don't know if it's that, or if it's like Silent Hill, which is like timed exclusive for at least a year. But then you also have to question, because a lot of times when it says timed exclusive, it's still not coming to Xbox. It just means timed exclusive PlayStation, then it comes to PC later or whatever. So it's really a crapshoot when it comes to guessing what this means. We'll hopefully find out soon, because apparently the rumor is that PlayStation's going to have a showcase coming up at the end of the month.
Yeah, the rumor is the 25th.
Yeah, the week of the 25th. So anytime that week, we should know. And I feel like Sony, if it's a big one, they'll usually announce it like a week beforehand. But if it's like a regular, like, third party
state of play,
state of play, they'll just announce it the day before.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if anything, we'll probably hear about it there. But this has been a rumor for a long time, and as a very big fan of Metal Gear Solid, it, like you said, I would love for it to come to Xbox, because that is my main platform. I do have a PS5. If it ends up being an actual timed exclusive, I'm gonna just have to bite the bullet and just get it on PS5. Like, I have to. It's a
remake, so I feel like I could wait for it.
I can't. Nope. That's how bad, or not bad, how much of a Metal Gear Solid fan I am. Like, I have to get, and then I'm more curious on how this would even work, because it's not, Hideo Kojima is not part of Konami anymore. He's not working on Metal Gear Solid anymore. Like, he's not associated at all. So, like, part of me is like, will I even enjoy it the same way? Because part of Metal Gear Solid's charm was Hideo Kojima. Like, he was the reason, he was the secret sauce that brought what I love about Metal Gear Solid to life, pretty much. And him not being associated with it anymore could be really bad, or it could be a breath of fresh air. Maybe he was too crazy with his stuff, and it was kind of holding the franchise back. I don't think so, but we'll see. Because if this is really like a true remake, it might end up being like an actual, like, kind of like reboot, where they'll start with Metal Gear Solid 3 because that was the first game chronologically, and then go up from there. So maybe they might not even call it Metal Gear Solid 3. They'll probably just call it Metal Gear Solid, and then just start from there and tell the story from there.
Like, making a whole new series starting from chronological order.
Yeah, so that way it would be interesting. I don't know if that would be the right way, just because people already know, but it would be interesting. And I'd also be curious to see if David Hayter, the voice of Solid Snake, returns, because he was not in Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
Yeah, he wasn't.
And that was like a big controversy, and apparently it had something to do with Kojima not wanting him to be in it.
Wow.
He wanted, what's his name? Kiefer Sutherland to play Snake for whatever reason.
Really? Kiefer Sutherland?
Yeah, that was who played Snake in Metal Gear Solid 5.
You know what?
He didn't talk that much, which was also, that was the whole thing about it, was like, because in that game, Snake really didn't talk much. So it's like, and Kiefer Sutherland, he's like a big actor. Like, he's a big name. So why would you want a big name to voice a character that barely has any lines?
Well, you know, big names, big checks. Maybe that's what they're thinking.
I mean, I don't know. it just rubbed me the wrong way. And he didn't do a bad job. Like, I still enjoyed the game. No,
it was still good, yeah.
Yeah, he did a good job, but it's just like, it's not David Hayter. He's Snake. Like, literally, even to this day in Smash Brothers, like, he still voices Snake. So it's like,
yeah, his voice is iconic.
Exactly.
For Metal Gear, for sure.
So we'll see what happens with that, and yeah.
All right, we're gonna move on right to the next piece of gaming news for Mortal Kombat. Seemingly just came out with a trailer, and we were just wondering.
Teaser.
Yeah, the teaser of, like, we're wondering what's happening with it, because there's a lot of rumors, a lot of speculation. Nobody knows if it's Mortal Kombat 12, the next mainline game, or if it's a reboot, because in the title it didn't say a number, it was just Mortal Kombat. So they're going to do Mortal Kombat 1, and they're restarting the series, especially after the storyline ends in Mortal Kombat 11. Spoilers if you haven't seen it. It's sort of resetting the timeline. So does that mean they're rebooting, going back to 1? Or we just don't know. Either way, I'm excited. Mortal Kombat is a great fighting game.
Yeah. Mortal Kombat's, it's interesting because I always get excited for it, but I never play them. Like, it's one of those... It's weird. I always like, oh, another Mortal Kombat game, but then I'm just like, and I'm not gonna play it because I'm not really into fighting games. But I do
poser.
Like. I'm not that into fighting games because there's too big of a learning curve, and I guess I'll play it for, like, the story. But a lot of these fighting games really don't have that anymore. I feel like
Mortal Kombat story is great.
No, I know. That's what I'm saying. Mortal Kombat's like the outlier in that sense. Like, it always has one of the better stories compared to, like, Street Fighter or all those other ones.
So when it comes to fighting games, like, I'm not that great at them, but I love to play them. So, like, I love to play Street Fighter, even though I'm terrible at it. But that's more of a technical fighter game where people really compete and fight and they get. So I'm not really good at that. But when it comes to like games like Mortal Kombat or Killer Instinct or even like Marvel vs. Capcom, I could get into those because those are more arcadey, more fun to play.
True. Yeah. I feel like the last game my brother bought, and because I game share with him, that he gets games that I would never get. So I feel like Mortal Kombat was the last one, and if he does, then I'll get it. I'll play it then. But otherwise,
hint.
If you're listening, wink, nudge. But yeah, no, it'll be interesting. Also, it's funny because what's this? Ed Boon? He's like the creator of Mortal Kombat. He was on Twitter, kind of like poking fun at. He's like, I never said it was Mortal Kombat, and it's just like, well, what else could it be? Like, it's it's almost obvious. But what's one thing that's interesting is apparently there's been a rumored DLC or not I don't know if it's DLC, but it's like a guest character.
Oh yeah, the guest character.
Yeah, so right now there's supposed to be Peacemaker, which is DC.
Yep.
But interesting, also Homelander from The Boys.
From The Boys. There's actually one more that came out today.
Oh, who was?
Conan the Barbarian.
Oh, really?
Yes, that's of course just rumors, but yeah, Conan the Barbarian was rumored to be as another character behind, of course, Homelander and Peacemaker.
Interesting.
Yes.
I'm more curious about Homelander because Warner Brothers owns NetherRealm, who makes Mortal Kombat, so that's where the DC tie comes from.
Yes,
but Homelander and The Boys, I don't think they're associated with DC at all. Like I remember I looked it up just out of curiosity because you know how sometimes there's like a difference between like the TV show version and then the comic version, like who owns the license to what. Even the comic version has nothing to do with DC. Like it's its own. I think it's like Dynamite Comics or something like that.
Oh, the Dynamite Entertainment.
Dynamite Entertainment, yeah. So it's like
so the comics are owned by a group of people. It's Wildstorm, DC, Dynamite Entertainment.
Oh, so it's like a joint thing.
Yes, it's a joint thing. That's for the comics. Whereas the original film is Sony Pictures. There's an original film from Sony Pictures.
The show?
Yeah, Sony Pictures Television and Amazon Studios Prime Video for television.
Okay, so then, all right, so then,
it could be.
It would be the comic version of Homelander, not the TV version.
Okay. So yeah, they definitely have ties with DC, so it's 100% possible.
That would make sense, but that's smart because like prior to The Boys TV show, like nobody really cared about the comic. I mean, I don't want to say nobody, but it was very niche. Like it wasn't in the limelight.
Yeah.
Now
Amazon brought it out.
Yeah, Amazon brought it out. Now it's super popular, and now you can take advantage of guest characters like that showing up in these games. So, and I feel like it works perfect too because The Boys is very gory, and Mortal Kombat is very gory. So
it's
there
perfect.
You go.
It's perfect.
It's a match made in heaven.
Definitely.
So we'll see how that plays out. I mean, it should be announced soon. I think one of the things was that they might announce it prior to either showcase, but I think PlayStation has the marketing for it, so
they may have marketing.
Yeah, so they'll probably show it there, maybe.
Yeah, we're gonna get some Starfield news, and I'm always excited about Starfield because like I feel like this is the game that I'm gonna be stuck on.
There's a lot riding on Starfield.
There really is. We need a Bethesda to really
knock it out of the park.
Knock it out the park and get it into gear. So Starfield could be great, and we have some more information courtesy of the ESRB, the Entertainment Software Ratings Board. You know, they rated Starfield M for mature as 17 plus.
Good.
For blood, strong language, suggestive themes, use of drugs and violence. Now, of course, the M classification is standard for any game that has these kind of, themes behind it. But the suggestive themes go on. That's where we get into some of the things that they talk about for sex in Starfield. So they describe it as an open world role-playing game in which players assume the role of a miner tasked with finding artifacts across the galaxy. And the next bit of text talks about some of the things that they have in it. Includes quests, futuristic guns, lasers, axes, and explosions. They're talking about suggestive material and dialogue, including jetpack sex. Yes, people, you heard that right. So they take little snippets of the game's dialogue, and that's where they get the rating from. And one of the quotes that they use from the game is, "Life is a sexually transmitted disease that's 100% fatal."
Jeez.
And there's another quote that says, "I'm all for getting a little wild, but next time let's try it without the jetpacks."
Like, see, when I saw this, I had a sigh of relief, because I was like, that's Bethesda. Like, that's the type of I felt like I was worried that they were gonna go like too serious with it, that there was gonna be like kind of like I mean, because I was gonna say more like Mass Effect, but Mass Effect has its
charm and
humor, it has its stuff like that. So, but I thought they were gonna be, based on what we've seen already, I felt like it was gonna be kind of like more serious or whatever. But then I saw this, and I was just like, no, that's how Fallout is. Like, that's what I want. The humor is like just that. Like, have you played Oh, why am I blanking on the name? The one that Obsidian made.
Talking about New Vegas?
No, not New Vegas. The new one, the one that's in space. The Outer Worlds.
Oh yes, Outer Worlds. Yes, of course.
That is like the perfect like benchmark of like the type of humor. Like I want to say
Outer Worlds.
Everything was like just perfect. Like, it was just the right amount of humor with also the right amount of like serious and drama and all that stuff. So hopefully Starfield learned from that and like built upon it. But they had me at jetpack sex.
Yeah, no, same. Yeah, because I really cannot wait for this game. It's just the hype, the wanting it to be almost perfect. Todd Howard and his crew are hard at work trying to make this game everything possible to be available and ready to play, not bug free, because we all know it's gonna have bugs. But I think that's the important part to emphasize here. The bugs in past Bethesda games, including Fallout 4, Skyrim, and even Outer Worlds, these sort of bugs sort of make the game a little charming, because they're gonna come with bugs, and it's funny to see what happens.
And also, like, as we saw with Jedi Survivor, like, that has its fair share of bugs and performance issues or whatever, but the core of the game is so good that you can overlook all that stuff. If Starfield
definitely
can nail the core aspect of the gameplay, then all these little bugs and hiccups or whatever might happen can be overlooked. And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing worse than having a game come out, it be buggy, and then it's just not that good.
Because that's like a Redfall. Like, that's pretty much like if Redfall nailed the core aspect of what the game was supposed to be and made just that fun, people will overlook all the bugs and all the issues it has. But the fact that the core gameplay is also an issue, that's what kind of, buried it.
Definitely.
But
because we have it's just like Starfield, the Bethesda games, Fallout, and Skyrim, they all come with this charm where it just instantly makes memes. and they make fun of themselves, and and it's just like with the arrow in the knee from Skyrim, and the settlement guy from Fallout 4 is always telling you that another settlement, there's a new settlement needs your help. It's those type of things that make the game charming and good. So I hope we see, especially with just a little bit of info that we got, hope we see more of that.
Right. And also, just to tag on to this, there's a rumor that partially, or not partially, but part of the reason why Starfield was delayed is because id Software they helped out with the combat for the game. Now id made Doom,
yes, Doom Eternal,
and one other Quake. So they know a thing or two on how to make the combat fun. So hopefully it shows, and the delay was worth it.
Yeah, definitely, for sure. All right, so I have some interesting news out of Australia. So Screen Australia has announced the creation of First Nations Game Studio Fund, where they're already working on projects today. So the initiative was announced earlier last week, and the funding body said it will support studios currently operating and primarily under the leadership and creative control of First Nation peoples. Now, First Nation peoples are, if people don't know, if our listeners don't know, are the Aboriginal people from Australia, and also the Torres Strait Islanders. Those just the islanders north of Australia. So all these indigenous people, so anybody, game studios or developers who will be making games creatively based off First Nation peoples will be able to access these funds. And we're talking a couple $1 million for these funds, where that's really great because indie games, they don't take a big budget, but to be able to tell the stories with the backing of Australia's government and their funding, it's a big step forward.
No, it definitely would benefit any independent developer who wants to get these games out but don't necessarily have the funds for it. So it bypasses the need to use crowdfunding like GoFundMe or anything like that, and they can just go straight into development with the backing of the government. So that this is actually a really cool thing.
Absolutely, it's even reported that it has funded already 41 games since 2022, and with I think came up to a total of 5.5 million. So they're just expanding on that fund that they funded with. So 41 games already funded, more projects still being used today. So let's hope we see some really great games from First Nation game studios.
And it's nice that the government actually acknowledges that video games is a good commodity to invest in, not like other governments who tend to think that gaming is not as big or not as important or is nascent or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean, it's art essentially. It is an art form, and we should be funding the arts, whether it be painters, music, sculpturing, any type of art. Gaming is an art, and we should be celebrating that, especially First Nation peoples. We should be celebrating that too, for sure.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we got some. Now we're getting into some of the bigger news. Leading up to some of the biggest news. So earlier this week, EA's CEO Andrew Wilson says he's indifferent about the Microsoft Activision Blizzard deal, and that no matter what, they will still continue to be the number one publisher for Microsoft, the biggest publisher for Microsoft, and they will just no matter what the deal, no matter what happens with the deal, they will push forward and continue to make games.
I mean, what else are they gonna say?
I mean, it comes up in the press. Somebody asks the question, and they're like, "We don't care about that. We're gonna continue making games for Xbox. We still have a really strong partnership."
Yeah, I mean, it's good for them to say this, because it'd be one thing if they started showing. Because even I think what was it? It was probably like around last year, where EA was saying that they see this as an opportunity to basically become the go. Like if Microsoft were to foreclose Call of Duty from other platforms, which clearly they're not, that it would be an opportunity for EA to step up and make that game, whether it be Battlefield or bring back Titanfall or even a new game or whatever they will decide to do, that could be the game that people go to fill the space that's left by Call of Duty.
The Call of Duty void.
Right.
Yeah. At least in the UK market, you know.
Well, that's something else entirely.
yeah. I mean, that's, you know, if that all happens. So as we know, the CMAs from the UK, they blocked the Activision merger, and but not only did they block it, they actually put some stipulations against both Microsoft and Activision. So it wasn't just a block. They said you can't even buy stocks from each other. You can't purchase more stocks and more stakes into the company. They told that to Microsoft and they told it to Activision. They don't want them to deal with each other at all. So I feel like it's personal. I don't know. That's what it feels like.
I think they're just covering their asses because they didn't want Microsoft and Activision to kind of go behind their backs and still essentially work out a deal without having to be bought or anything like that. Basically to avoid them circumventing the block. So they were just covering their asses.
I get that, but if they go one non-political regulatory body in the UK is going to tell an American company or two American companies that they cannot buy stocks from each other. That seems weird to me.
It is very weird, but this whole situation is weird. So I think whenever there's weird, for lack of it, I was trying to find a different word.
Yeah.
But whenever there's weird situations in like business or stuff like that, you tend to have weird outcomes or standards or just weirdness in general. Like everything is very just not usual. And
definitely.
I think that they just, I mean, the CMA themselves have been basically kind of touting the same horn that the FTC has, and they kind of want to make a name for themselves, essentially. And they feel, I mean, because the CMA has only been around for like 10 years, almost exactly 10 years. So it's like they haven't really been around long enough to be part of some of the bigger mergers and acquisitions and stuff like that to really feel like they had a say in it. So now this is their first, I don't want to say this is their first big one, but this is a big one for them and potentially one of the biggest in the industry that they can have a say in, and they want to kind of put their stamp on it and be like, hey, we said this, so come get some. Like basically like saying this, we are a force to be reckoned with. Don't count us out.
So you think they're in it for the glory, not for the money?
Absolutely. they want all eyes on them. But I feel like that is essentially they're shooting themselves in the foot because we'll get to that story now because of about the European Commission.
Yes, you brought it up. Go ahead, continue.
That the European Commission has approved the ABK deal with concessions, or I guess remedies, that Microsoft will be required to license out all Activision Blizzard games, not just Call of Duty, but all Activision Blizzard games to competing cloud services free of charge. So that means any cloud service, including like Amazon Luna or any other like smaller competing cloud service providers, can say, hey, we want those games, and Microsoft has to oblige. Now, it basically, Microsoft would still make money on the back end because they're only allowing the games to be on the service. Microsoft still makes the revenue from those games. Like if you buy microtransactions or anything like that. But you have to have the service to get into the game. So that's where these services will make their money. And that's really how a lot of services make money for like streaming and stuff like that. It's the subscription. That's where they get their money.
So all the concessions were made basically for cloud gaming.
Yeah, just for cloud gaming.
Just for cloud gaming. Because they even go on to explain, it says, even if Microsoft did decide to withdraw Activision games from the PlayStation console, this would not significantly harm competition in the console market. So by EU's own statement, they do not think it will harm competition if Xbox makes Call of Duty exclusive. But they go on, they do say that Microsoft has no incentive to make it exclusive because they will want to make money back, simply because in the EU alone, there's the words are Microsoft would be strong because there are 4-to-1 PlayStation gamers than Xbox gamers in the EU.
Yeah.
So they see it as no incentive for Microsoft to not have them on console. But if they decide to, doesn't really matter. It doesn't harm competition.
Yeah, it wouldn't change much. Like I think they did the same I guess math, I guess you said that the CMA did, where they calculated how many people could potentially move over to Xbox from PlayStation, and that the number would be negligible in overall competition. So it wouldn't harm PlayStation at all. As much as Sony would like to claim that it does, it won't. And even if it made it exclusive, which they won't. So it really doesn't matter with the console aspect of it. But it was the cloud thing that kind of was bothering a lot of people. I mean, the CMA and the EU. So that was why it became such a hot topic for them. But where they differ is that the EU is willing to accept these remedies and concessions or whatever, and they forced Microsoft to do it, because prior to this, Microsoft was, I don't want to say they were selectively choosing, but they were picking and choosing who to make 10-year deals with, and they were announcing that. And basically, the EU was just like, nah, do it for everybody, and you got to do it for free. And they were just like, all right, fine. So,
because Microsoft wants the deal to go through, so they're gonna they're gonna do everything they can to try and make the deal go through. So if they have to do this, they will do it. Which just goes to show you the length that Microsoft will go to make the deal go through. They will do whatever needs to be done. So the CMAs need to rethink their position and see from the EU's perspective. Because remember, the EU is like, what, 25 countries? 27 countries? 27 countries. You know, so that's they're collectively saying, for these 27 countries, it can go through with these remedies because we feel like this is a fair, lawful act. Whereas the CMAs are like, no.
Yeah, like I said,
no.
Like I said, they're trying to make a name for themselves. They're trying to stand out and get attention. And according to them, they're trying to welcome businesses and competition to come to the UK to, I guess, invest in the UK. But what this is showing other businesses is that, no, you're going to be stubborn about this stuff. And we don't want to work with you if you're going to be this way. Yeah. And that's why, and I said it on Twitter that, like, if the CMA really cared about competition, like if the cloud gaming competition thing was such an issue for them, they could have easily done the same remedy that the EU did, where you basically mandate that Microsoft has to bring all their games to competing cloud services. That literally addresses your concern, because you said it's anti-competitive, or whatever example they gave, that they said
They can harm innovation.
Oh, harm innovation or anything like that. No, if you give any cloud service the ability to have ABK games on it from the jump, and if they're a competitive price, that makes it more attractive than even like Game Pass. So it's like that's your answer. But for whatever reason, they refuse to accept it, and that basically speaks volumes of their intentions. They have no intention of passing this deal. They want all, like I said, all eyes on them, and then they're gonna be the ones looking stupid because now that the EC has approved it, and virtually every other regulator has approved it. I think the only ones left is New Zealand and Korea and
New Zealand,
China.
Korea, China, Australia, and United States.
Yeah. So when all the other regulators approve it, and then with the FTC, since they can't block it, it's really just the government that decides. And when they go to the hearing, they're going to use all these regulators and be like, hey, look, they see what we're trying to do. They understand.
Yeah.
They're use their own wording to say that this deal will not harm competition, will offer the same remedies that we did for them, and the FTC will lose their case because that it really doesn't make sense to block this deal on the merits of cloud gaming competition if they're offering everything to these competitors.
You can definitely see that the CMA is out to be, oh, look at me, it's all about me, because I think it was not even 5 minutes after the European Commission approved the deal, the CMAs went on Twitter on a public forum and responded in a series of 5 tweets on how the EU is wrong.
Yeah,
they literally said the EU is wrong. We are right. No, it's gonna lead to less innovation, and it's gonna lead Microsoft to be this big monopoly who will control everything after the 10 years. And they were sort of doubling down on Twitter, and I don't know if you noticed, but the CMAs, the head of the CMAs, actually went in front of the UK's Parliament, and they sort of had a big meeting, and it was a public meeting where you could watch it on TV. And I was following along live when I was on my break at work. The Parliament does not seem very happy with the CMAs.
No, they were questioning them hard, kind of like annoyed with their answering that, or their lack of answering that, because they were kind of dodging questions.
They were dodging all the questions.
Yeah,
they were not answering them. It felt like watching a hearing here in the United States where, you see somebody and they ask you a question and they just don't answer it. And they're like, okay, let's repeat the question. And they're just repeating it back and forth. And they're like, well, we're not getting anywhere. We don't agree with this. Do you think it will be harmful for other tech companies to do business in the UK? And they were just very nonchalant, dodging questions, not really answering it. So it seems like the government in the UK is very apprehensive about this decision by the CMAs, and we'll see where that leads us, because although the CMAs is not part of the government, maybe the government can have some sway and pushing the CMAs in the right direction.
Yeah, so with that, it's very like wishy-washy. Like, there's no concrete evidence because, like I said, the CMA hasn't really been around that long for any of this stuff to really set any precedent. So there is a clause. I would have to look it up to see exactly what it is, but there's basically a clause that would allow the CAT, the tribunal, to basically, if they also agree, because right now Microsoft is gonna appeal, and if they haven't yet, they're going to very soon.
They have appealed.
Yeah, so they're basically gonna say that the CMA acted irrationally because, especially with the EU now, they're gonna say that they acted irrationally because they blocked the deal based on merits that don't hold any water, whatever. if the CAT also agrees that they acted irrationally, they technically have the power to overrule the CMA if they feel like it's if it's like necessary.
Yeah.
Obviously, and then there was like a kind of, because I was watching on Twitter, False Patents. He's basically been kind of like documenting this whole entire saga and kind of going to, because he's from Germany, so he deals with this stuff. He knows a little bit more about the stuff in Europe, as opposed to over here. So what he was saying is that they do have the power. The only thing that it's standard for, like if they accept the appeal and they agreed that they acted rationally with it, it's standard for them to send it back to the CMA to revise their initial final decision and basically either go stick with it or say, okay, we made a mistake or whatever, and then allow whatever it is to go through. That's the standard, but there are rare occasions where they can step in and be like, no, you messed up and this is going to affect the country. This is what we're saying. So
remember where I was talking about, I think it was last week where we talked about the nuclear option, where the government can say this will harm national security.
Yes.
So you're going to have to approve the deal because we will not allow national security be jeopardized because you want your so-called glory.
Yeah, and even I think it was either today or yesterday, Satya Nadella was interviewed. I think it was for something else, but they asked him about the CMA and they're blocking the deal and what this means and if Microsoft would be willing to pull out of the UK. And
yes,
I don't know if you can read into Nadella's like the way he phrased it or something like that. He just said, let's wait and see how this plays out.
Yes.
So that could mean a lot of things, but it's basically saying that they're weighing all their options. It's not like because he could have said like we have no plans or this and that. No, he said let's wait and see how this plays out before we do anything. So they are weighing their options. They know what they could do.
Yes.
They don't want to do it, but if push comes to shove, we don't know. That's basically what he was trying to say.
I mean, they didn't become a multi-billion-dollar company by just taking the L.
Laying over, rolling over, and
they're gonna fight tooth and nail to get this through, even if they have to do nuclear options.
They even hired the Queen's
lawyer. They hired a bunch of lawyers.
Yeah, but
it was a bunch of lawyers. They hired the Queen's lawyer,
the top of the top.
Oh yeah, I mean he got what's his face, one of the princes. He got him off the hook for the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. So,
oh shit,
so he's a good lawyer. Let's just put it at that. He's really good at what he does.
Yeah,
and Microsoft will not. They
spare
invested.
No expense.
Yeah, they will spare no expense because they've invested so much. They will spend whatever they need to spend to get this deal to go through. Microsoft's resolve is stronger than CMA's wanting of glory.
Yeah, and all these people who are just saying, "Oh, deal is dead, deal is dead." Like, if the deal was truly dead, we wouldn't be hearing about this. Like,
definitely,
we still would be we wouldn't be talking about it. Microsoft would have backed out. Activision would have backed out. Like, all this would have fell apart as soon as the CMA said no. But it didn't. Because there is a path forward, and Microsoft is taking that path.
Yeah, definitely.
So, we'll see how things turn out. And like I said, as interesting as this stuff is, it's just tiresome. I wanted it to be over. It would have been over. I feel like if the CMA approved and the EU approved, then the FTC probably would have been like, never mind. But
they will fold too.
They will fold, but now it's just gonna have to be done in court instead of just them backing out or letting it through. Because they could, if the CMA and EU approved, then Microsoft could have closed the deal.
They can't. No, they can close the deal. without FTC, because the FTC didn't formally block it. They sort of just did an injunction where they have to appear before the FTC court.
Yeah, it was they did a judicial lawsuit or whatever. So
yes.
Or judiciary, even, whatever.
Yeah, and even on that end with the FTC, they Lana Khan came out and said that she had wanted to make all mergers be blocked past a certain threshold. Yeah, so and people were taking that as all the deal's dead, but no, that's not what that means. That means
that's what she wants.
Yeah, that's what she wants the law to be for future mergers. The law does not state that now for this merger. They will still abide by that law. And that law doesn't even exist. That's just what she wants.
That's what she wants. And that doesn't necessarily mean that she's going to get it. So
No. You know how hard it is to pass laws in the United States? No way they're going to do that.
Yeah.
People wouldn't even come to the United States to do business if that's the case.
There's too much money involved for them to want to do that. So
yeah. So, a lot of cotton, she's going to eat it. Some CMAs will eat it too. We just got to wait and see because, as they say, the saga continues.
The saga continues. And we will continue.
Yes, we will.
Covering it.
Yes, we will. That's it. That's all we got.
That's all we got.
That's the news, folks.
And I think that's it for the podcast because I am tired. I want to go to bed.
You gotta put them kids to bed.
I gotta put them kids to bed. Actually, it is exactly their bedtime. So we'll end the year. You can follow us on our socials. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see it on top. If you're listening on the podcast, it's in our description on our link tree. And like and subscribe. Comment. We'll respond to you. And that's it. Any parting words?
Nope. We'll see you next week. Thanks, folks.
See ya.